All right, it is 6:30, so I'm going to call our working session to order. We'll still do introductions.
Scott Morrison, Superintendent.
Colleen Anderson, Recording Secretary.
Andrew Prazar, School Committee.
Candace Snyder, School Committee.
Emily King, School Committee.
Alyssa Gustin, School Committee.
Brendan Gahagan, School Committee.
And since we are working session, there's no public comment. We're just here to shoot the breeze, y'all. Was that?
Can we sit in more of a circle, or
Sure.
not because
They'd like.
What do you want to do?
I don't know. I just feel like that would be a better.
May I move?
group.
Me to turn one of these? Andrew?
Just like maybe just turn that one in.
Yeah.
Turn this one in?
Sorry, I didn't think about this earlier.
Oh, Alyssa.
I know, but
You just
it'll be
angle it
better.
like
I
this?
promise.
Like this?
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that could be the camera. That's in.
It's bumps. Can I sit over there?
No, you can't.
I know. I'd actually block everybody. You wouldn't be able to see anything. You see the back of my head.
I think that's good. So like either side.
Thanks for playing along.
So do you have an update on the Proctor principal search?
Yep. Just before that, spelling bee today at Proctor. It was a lot of fun. Just sort of another item to start with. That was that 2 o'clock? I think
Yeah,
so.
they
2
picked
o'clock.
up at 2.
Yeah, kids at HR came out the 2 fourth graders, and it was like a heavyweight fight. They were just
Really?
boom, boom, back and forth, and it was great. I mean, they were so confident, just up there.
I love that it came down to the fourth graders.
I know.
It was awesome.
So much.
Those girls were locked in.
Were they?
Like, we're going to be here till
Yeah.
6.
I know. I know in particular one of them has been like really studying and prepping
Oh, you
for
can tell.
it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could
Oh,
just
for sure.
They
I
got up
don't
and
just
just
don't happen to know if the other one
said
is,
it.
but
There was no thinking. It was like, yeah, I can do this.
Oh, that was
It
so
was-
cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was it was nice the way I like how they did it too. It wasn't they didn't like really register for the regional in the state. It was just let's try it,
Yeah.
yeah.
get our feet wet, kick it off, see how it goes. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
So that was today. Principal search. Brian had put together a memo on the drive. I'll just sort of skim it for the record. So please find that outline of the search process for the permanent principal at Proctor. Panel interviews with candidates were held on the 25th and 26th. 8 were interviewed, 7 were invited rather. 7 candidates held interviews, 1 withdrew because he got another position. Based on the results of those interviews, 2 candidates were identified to move forward in the process as semifinalists. The semifinals will have meetings with the senior leadership team the week of March 2nd. During the week of March 9th, the finalists will be announced to the Proctor community along with invitations for times for meet and greets with each finalist. Site visits will occur the 16th and the 23rd, and then the appointment will be announced during the week of March 30th. As Brian indicates on the bottom, process is moving along nicely. And go back to that bullet where it reads the semifinals to meet with some members of the senior leadership team the week of March 2nd. That took place today. So Brian and I had an opportunity to meet with the 2 candidates. Obviously, we can say 1 because we know it's the interim person who has applied. I think we are aware of that. The other person, has not informed where they are yet that they're a finalist, so we won't say that name for now. But Brian and I did meet with both today, and Matt as well. And then Brian informed both candidates that, even though there's an internal candidate, we still do a site visit. It's a little clunky, obviously, because we already know the people here, but we still kind of go through the same process that we always go through. So there'll be a site visit here, opportunity for people to get feedback, meet with parents, meet with teachers, so on and so forth. And then we'll do the same thing with the other candidate. And so Brian will be calling them tomorrow or Monday to set up a time for all of that to take place. And you can see on there that the site visits will occur during the week of the 16th. So that process is moving along well. And just related to searches, also our assistant superintendent of operations search, that is still ongoing. At the moment, we are in a spot where I need to connect with the chairs of the 3 towns and just have a conversation in terms of some ideas in my head around next steps. And so just to kind of make sure all 3 towns hear that at the same time, I'll wait till I have that conversation with Andrew and with Jackie and with Barbara, thank you very much. So that'll be, probably reach out next week just so we can have a conversation and talk about some potential next steps as it relates to that. So that is it for Proctor Principal Search. Any questions from anybody on that one? Pretty straightforward. All right, town warrant budget, kind of a little combo platter here. And so there's 2 documents in the drive. I think just an opportunity for us to make sure we're all still singing from the same song sheet. So the 2026 ATM warrant Word doc is in there. And then our TSC Excel doc that Steve has been updating as the committee has bobbed and weaved through budget season and made decisions, and we've locked in the, sort of the votes on there. But why don't we start with the Google document, 2026 ATM warrant V5.03. And so this was from, latest one, I believe, from the town. And so the way that I navigate this, because it's really long, if you Control F and then you just put in elementary, right, you'll get 9 returns on that. And the first return is Article the 3rd under General Operating Budget, right, to see if the town will vote. This is the whole operating budget, elementary schools included with highways and town expenses and so on and so forth. The second hit is under Motion A, base budget as set forth. Again, it's just recommending the town vote to appropriate the sum of $26,699,50, again, for the elementary schools, highways, town expenses. If you stay on your Control F for elementary, the third hit goes down to Article the 23rd, and that is for elementary school, new gym space, paint and safety mats. And this is a capital item for the schools, for Proctor, that we had worked on. If you go to the fourth hit for elementary, that keeps you within that same article. The fifth hit keeps you in that same article. The sixth will take you down to Article 47th, and that is for putting 75,000 of the 150 that the school department returned to the town last year to the Special Ed Stabilization Fund. And then the reserve fund is the next one, 48th, and that's another 75,000 to the reserve fund. And I think that's it for elementary. There's a little bit further down under election warrants, right? We have
2 seats open.
2 openings, right? For next year, so that's that one. And then the 9th one, shall the town, that might have to be updated. Because it shouldn't say Topsfield. No, I see the 9th one. I haven't made my way down to the 9th one until just now.
This is, I think that's what is gonna appear on the election, like the ballot.
Right. But that's, kind of makes it read like,
No, I agree.
right?
Yeah.
Shall the town of Topsfield be allowed to assess an additional $650 in real estate property taxes for the elementary schools and town operating budget? I don't know.
Just be the town operating budget, yeah.
Right?
I can make a note for Raphael.
Okay, perfect. So then if we go back up to 40, Candace just pointed this out before we jumped in, and I made a note on that. Stabilization and reserve fund. The process to approve those, and I always forget in my head, but one is town meeting. The other is
Stabilization.
Stabilization's town meeting,
Yep.
okay. And then reserve, it should be select board and school committee. Let's just see what that was.
Is it a majority then also of the
Where was that,
combined,
Candace, on that
or?
It's, each board has to approve it.
Okay.
So like we have to approve it and they have to approve it, yeah.
So I think it does, are we okay with that? Look into the language for that if you guys don't mind.
The special reserve?
Yeah, read the
It says
italics
so.
part.
Yeah.
I think that's, should be okay.
They both say town meeting, a majority vote of town meeting.
Where does it say?
Last line.
In the italicized
yeah.
last line for both of them, they say.
Appropriation
requires-
monies into, that would be right.
Right, because we have to
Oh,
put money in,
into,
yeah,
never
yeah,
mind,
yeah.
okay.
So putting the money in, that would actually be okay.
Yeah,
So I think that language is okay.
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 So that's the warrant, and we can chat about that if anyone has any questions on that. And then the other item, just to kind of take a peek at, is the Excel doc. We sort of landed that plane at the last meeting. We have a public hearing on April, whatever the April meeting is, the 6th or so. April 2nd, rather. And we landed taking a bus, and then closing the budget with alternate funding sources. And we sort of landed the plane pretty well with all of that. So if the folks have questions on either the Excel doc or the warrant.
And we were going to FinCom on Monday night to
Okay,
fight for our Chapter 70 increase. It will not be this year, but
How
Okay.
much,
40,000.
And the goal would be for them to, in my mind, what I want them to do is add that to, after they've calculated our guideline next year, add that to the guideline.
Okay.
So they give us our 2,
yeah,
and then we get an additional 40,000 as opposed to that being just rolled into the town budget like it normally is.
Okay. Yeah, I had a question on that this week, on a phone call, asking about that. And, you know, not a question, maybe more of a discussion, and the commentary made was that, you know, other town departments don't like if the, I don't know what the other town departments' money sources are, right? But like if the firehouse grant changes, it's not, and the firehouse gets 2.25 plus the $35,000. Somebody was making that point to me.
I guess my counterpoint would be this is money specifically for school. Like Chapter 70 is a
Absolutely.
carve out at the
State.
state level in the
Okay.
state language that says this money is for schools.
Massillon gets all of their chapter 70 money, and
Correct.
Massachusetts gets all of their chapter
Right.
70 money.
Yeah,
Yep.
And then 2.25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, on top of, yep.
Right.
So it
So
builds.
you guys are going to FinCom on Monday to have that dialogue?
Yes.
So there may be some feedback.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's all. Just making you aware
I'm
that.
surprised that
maybe-
the fire department would like keep their grant.
And I'm using the firefighter.
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
completely pulling it out of the sky
Yeah.
example. So know that that's
They
not.
ran out. Like, they got grants for 2 firefighters, and they ran out or whatever, and then, so now they have to replace the money for those 2 firefighters. Where's that gonna come from?
Right. Right. And my firefighter example was literally pulled out of the sky.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Pulled out of the
A
sky.
little more context to it.
Right. But
As long
just,
as everyone understands what's
This is
happening
what's different.
and that,
Because there was, when you brought that up initially, there was people on the finance committee didn't understand how it was working.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, you could look back over the past decade and say, you know, how much does that, you know, add up to that we have been allocated, you know, after these
Factors
decisions
over
were
you.
made, right? You
And
know,
really it should be added onto last year's budget number, and then we get the 2% on top of that.
Mhm. Yeah, as Steve would say, we've never predicated our budget on, we don't
On
use
that.
chapter 70
Right,
as
yeah.
a building block,
Yeah.
right? Because it's, in the whole scheme of things, it's such a small number
Yeah.
comparatively to, I was on the phone with, Salem Public Schools today, and like, they have a lot of chapter
Yeah.
70 money and very little from the base,
Yeah.
right? Like, an override would not be a thing that would even come up in a city, right? So, chapter 70 is very broken. We'll talk about this at the public hearing. I'll bring some of the documentation that we did with our legislative delegation. So the superintendent roundtable met with the legislative delegation on Friday of last week. Bruce was there, and Kristen, help me out here.
Kastner.
Thank you, was there. Sally Cameron's had a rep there. Trump Wynn's office had a rep there. So all of our reps were either there or had a rep there, one of their reps there. And it was a very healthy dialogue just about Chapter 70, very broken. There's a foundation review commission that's going to come into play to look at the Chapter 70 funding formula. You know it's broken when 270 of the 319 districts get the minimum bump of $75 a child, right? 270 out of 319 are getting $75 a child for that minimum bump. Now, last year we got 150, and even 150 this year would help, because now your 40 would become 80, right? Which, that's a big amount of money. So we're pushing for that. Bruce Tarr and I agree with this, like, if there's something that we can all maybe hold hands on, FinCom, select boards, school committees. The Fair Share Act, the millionaire's tax, it's for higher ed, it's for MBTA, transportation, and it's for public ed. And it seems like higher ed and MBTA are getting the lion's share, and there's just a little tiny carve out for for public ed. And Bruce gave testimony on the Senate, I think the Senate floor, a week or so ago, and was basically saying, like, we need to bump that up. Like, yes, the T has stuff that they need to fix, and yes, higher ed has stuff that they need to fix, but I don't know. I don't know if free college tuition for the community schools was there clamor for that? Before we take care of the programs that would get kids into college, right? Should we be thinking about the pre-K and the K and the elementary and the middle and the high school? So I think there's an opportunity there for us to all maybe push for more money from that to help offset the challenges that we're seeing in public education right now. So good dialogue all around, and I'll share the document that we put together, the conversation that we had with the legislative delegation last week. So
Your thoughts on the warrant? I appreciate that what's that?
it's improved.
It has improved. I
Yeah.
appreciate that they've taken our feedback.
yes, very much so.
Yes.
Congratulations to all who are doing that feedback work.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they with the 75 as we
That's
used.
huge.
Yeah, so.
Yep. And Andy, you'll talk to
And the
them
maths.
about.
I'll talk about the question one.
Okay.
Yeah, that may be a carryover from
It might have been
the last override.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right,
it's highlighted, so Kevin will say it's
Yeah.
fungible. So.
right. Yep.
All right. On to the BMI. I'm just going to call it the BMI policy.
Yeah, so in the folder, there's a separate folder called JLCA BMI. So let me just walk you guys through this and we can figure out what, if any, path forward. So go to the one in the middle, the one that the actual policy, once you get into that folder. So that's our JLCA policy, right? This is our one that we worked on as a policy sub. This was approved back in '23, and we had a policy, thing from, MASC. And so this basically reads every student will be examined, site hearing BMI and other physical problems as provided by state law. A record of the results will be kept. Every student will be provided evidence or be given a general physical exam 4 times, and it identifies those areas. And so we were kind of dialing in on the BMI part of it. You can see the bullet point down below. The Department of Health regulations call for vision grades 1 to 5, once between 6 and 8. And then the BMI is in grades 1, 4, 7, and 10. And so for us, obviously, that's 1 and 4. So if you close that for a second, the backup document for that is probably the best way to say it. If you go to the PDF that says BMI screening guidelines for school. So this is older, right? It's from 2013, I believe. Or 14, yeah. So this hasn't been updated since then, but this was the document from which the JLCA policy was generated. If you go to page 6 of that, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on the top of page 6, it talks about how parents and guardians shall be provided with an opportunity to request in writing that their child's measurements not be taken. And so although we don't necessarily have that, let's say, in the policy, if you go to the letter from the nurses, that's also in the drive.
Mm-hmm.
So this letter goes out at the beginning of the school year, and this is the opt-out health screenings letter from all the school nurses. And in the third paragraph of that, it kind of matches what the policy says and what the document from 2014 says. All medical information is kept confidential. Parents and legal guardians, third paragraph, may request in writing that the child not participate in screening. BMI determinations and head lice checks. Please fill out the form if you wish to opt out, signed by all the nurses. And then, remember last meeting I came with all the data, like, here's how many kids opted out of BMI, health and vision, all that. That was based upon this letter that went home from the nurses, at the beginning of the school year, basically. So, just looking for feedback from the committee as to, for when Candace and I go back to policy sub, are there thoughts on, are there changes we want to make to JLCA? I don't know if we can, I'd have to look into it. I don't know if we can ban BMI, but I don't know if that's a possibility.
It looks like we are required. We have to, but this also seems like with the MCAS, and that, I consistently just write an email and say my child will not be participating.
Yeah.
The school does not have the authority to force a child to take the test, right? But they must provide
Correct.
the opportunity and ability to. So I think this appears, again, legal might need to look at it,
Yeah.
but it appears that as long as we tell them that we can, that's all we need to do. So for example, the way, we were asked is we get a Google form,
Yes.
and then we can just click.
Yep.
And that honestly is easier than just getting a letter or having it be in an email, right?
Right.
Because then someone would have to take the initiative to
write
contact
something.
them, right?
Right.
But by having every parent get sent the survey, it's easier to kind of click and say no thank you. If we wanted to make it easier, more common for people to opt out potentially, there are different ways I think we could word surveys and things if that was something we wanted to do. And again, we have the ability to include information in there, factual information, that might help inform a parent's
Sure.
decision.
Yeah, click
that
here
makes
to
sense.
learn more.
Like, for example, again, we would not put this all in there, but vision and hearing, okay, so it's screening tests, right? So screening tests have to pass a certain muster, right? One, it has to be something that happens often enough that you're going to find it. Like if it's, 1 in a million, why are we screening all of the Stewart Proctor kids, right? It has to be something that does have a significant impact on life or function, right? And we're education, so it has to have an impact on education. Then the third thing would be you can do something about it. So if we can't find it because it's rare, or it doesn't have much impact, or you can't do much about it, there's no point to have a screening test. So vision and hearing clearly pass that muster. I would argue that BMI does not pass that muster. Because if you look at, underweight versus overweight, absolutely, underweight, malnutrition, that's going to affect your population. But what's the percentage of like malnourished children? I don't know, but I would guess that it's very small.
Yeah.
Again, we do happen to have a population that gets more regular health care. So I think if you're health care,
care, yeah.
right, where these things are done, right? So every, physical. So kids ages, 3+ generally are recommended to have a yearly physical. It doesn't always happen.
Do kids have to have a physical for school?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, periodically. So
4 times.
and so there's
4,
that.
7
So
times grade.
I think underweight again, in general, is gonna be smaller. Absolutely, there are kids who have medical disorders and absolutely. But we as a school are not required to intervene on that. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't have a place to do that. However, I would say, although it's not our place, like Charisse and Whitson's and all of the efforts that are happening to expose kids to more of that is amazing and wonderful, and we can keep doing that, right? But we're not gonna send home like parents like meal plan ideas
Right.
or links to like medical resources. That's not appropriate. Just like with vision and hearing, we say, hey, go get this checked out and confirmed, because it's a screening test, not a diagnostic
it's a
test,
screening,
right?
right.
So why are we doing the BMI? Okay, there are tons of overweight and obese kids. But this is like such an epidemic that to me, it's no longer let's find the few that have it. It's most children are probably overweight.
I mean,
And so what impact does that have on your education? To the degree that your weight impacts your ability to participate physically at school, I think that's probably pretty not uncommon. And again, what are we doing? Why do we need to intervene? Or what is our goal to intervene with families? If that makes sense. So I'm finding it hard to figure out the educational impact and the reason to potentially to do those things. And again, the regulation says that the goal is that we provide this information to the state Department of Public Health for their use and their trending and tracking of this information. So again, it's not an educational purpose for us. My personal opinion is I don't like it. I don't like that we're doing it. I have other opinions on the scoliosis stuff, but that's not for today. But vision and hearing pass muster.
that's how we found out Huck needed glasses.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
They're like, he flunked his vision test. Oh, okay.
And
He's basically blinded an eye. We had no idea.
That's amazing. Do you know that we now have these things called like spot vision screeners that we can do as early as 18 months of age? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think
Isn't that amazing?
the only reason BMI is in there is because the state wants to keep track of
Right.
Yes.
where kids
and
are at.
I think it's at this point the numbers are so high, and we know where the trend is. Like, why do we need to have our nurses spend the effort to do that and potentially cause some discomfort for kids?
Yeah.
I just,
My experience has only been that kids have been uncomfortable. Particularly,
stepping on a scale for weight is
Yeah.
not.
right, like, because,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
a thing. And
So I opt my kids out.
Can we make it an opt-in?
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
process?
And that's what I meant by there are ways that we can word it to suggest that it's, I don't know,
Very optional.
very optional.
Because the way it's written now, it sounds like, right, you would have to have a reason to, you have to find a reason to object to it, whereas I think it makes
So
more
we
sense
could
if
make
you
a
have
statement like, vision, hearing, screening are extremely important for these reasons. The state would also like us to collect this data if you choose that you want your student to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could like put it something like that. So it doesn't need to be a
Right, the
I-
purpose, yeah.
I don't know how to, it needs to be grounded in facts and purpose, right? And not about, anything else. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. So
I'm just doing a quick AI. Is checking for BMI and mass a mandatory requirement rooted in law?
I only made it through like 8 pages of the thing, but that policy, and I thought it said that you have to, but
In Massachusetts, BMI screening is a mandatory requirement for school, but it's not a mandatory requirement for the individual student if the parent chooses to opt out, which we just said. The requirement is rooted in a state regulation rather than a statute passed by the legislature. Though it's authorized by broader public health laws, the mandates found in the Code of Regulations, and it lists it. The regulation was adopted by DPH under the authority MGL 7157, which requires school committees to provide for the instruction and training of students in health and to contain certain medical screenings. The specific rules talks about 14710. The opt-out clause. While the district is legally obligated to perform the screenings or report aggregate data to the state, the law provides a clear exit ramp for families. Parental choice must be provided, which we just talked about in writing. Schools are required to provide prior notice, which we do. Recent shifts. As early as 2026, some school committees, such as Burlington, have actively debated removing BMI language from local policy. However, because the 105 CMR regulation is a state-level mandate, local districts generally cannot stop the practice entirely unless they receive a specific waiver from DPH. In the innovation versus compliance conversation, that doesn't really talk about anything. Rejecting the draft a standard parental opt-out. So it sounds like.
So it doesn't say anything about the ways in which you can
Right, can you
let
opt
parents
in?
know and provide that opportunity. So it doesn't look like it is saying it prescribes, like you cannot have an opt.
According to my
in,
search
but
here,
I don't
it
know.
says opt-out only, not opt-in.
It doesn't say you can't opt in, but it says that you must allow that they opt out. So we could say on the same form, you may opt your child in or you may opt your child out. I mean, that would be fulfilling the letter of
Right, if you give them
allowing them
like
to
two,
opt
two options.
out.
Your child to be included, yes, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would kind of do that now. I mean, I haven't seen the Google.
I haven't seen,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
Stuart got it before.
Well, I have a fourth grader and that's BMI, so I got one. I just
I mean, yeah, they do it in
go
first
back.
grade too, though.
Yeah.
So this says, to Carlene's point, in Massachusetts moving to
I'll
an
have to
opt-in
Google,
model,
'cause I
where the child only screened if the parent signs the permission slip is generally not allowed for BMI, as it would likely put the district in violation of state regs. Under 105 CMR blah, 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 the state mandates the district shall ensure the BMI of every student 14710. Law specifically frames parental rights as an opportunity or question writing that they not be taken. So I mean, we could,
The Steward letter had one in September. I don't know, and I still get those. I don't know if that's why. Like, I just can't find the other
I
one.
don't think we've gotten a Proctor one yet, have
so it
we?
says if we switch to opt-in,
Me
and only
too.
20% of parents return the form, the district has failed its mandate to ensure the screening for the other 80%. This will result in non-compliance with TPH reporting requirements.
I don't know. I didn't save one. See, I'd be curious about how do we legally allow.
If the school committee is adamant about moving to opt-in, the only legal path is to request a waiver under 105. To get this, must have been an alternative plan to DBH that adequately protects the health of the school child. The DPH is
here we
very
go.
reluctant to grant waivers.
Oh, no, that's not it. No, no,
Oh.
sorry. That I-
Proctor 10 September 29th.
So, just direction.
And there's
First
National
up.
Health
Good information
Office.
to have.
and
Yeah.
what it is, and then.
Yeah, was MACS,
May I see?
thank you.
Yeah.
Were they doing something new
Oh.
on this or no? Okay.
Maybe
Let
it
me
was
check the
closer
latest.
to the,
I don't think so, Andrew. Yes.
maybe it comes out closer to the actual screening. They haven't done it yet.
So this is just flagged by the policy subcommittee.
I think here.
Oh, here. Oh, there, oh, yeah, that's right, you brought that.
Here, yeah.
It came in the mailer that we got.
Maybe it's
from
because I got the
MASC.
Steward one that I went.
Okay, I thought I'd seen something from
Yeah,
MASC.
it was like a paragraph or
Yeah.
whatever that they sent us.
So the last update from MASC on policies was 25, and we did all those.
Okay.
So there's not a new.
Let me see what form is still active.
I would say we can look into making it an opt, well, it sounds like we can't make it an opt-in. But is a yes, no still an opt-in? I guess it is, because you're not, maybe we just have to keep the opt-out.
And I guess it depends on how strongly if we feel about saying, look, this is our position as a committee. We could, if we decided to make a motion or a statement
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, saying that the committee feels this way, we could put like a statement on there, just saying.
Like, we don't feel like BMI
We
significantly impacts
both
the
take
educational
serious
outcomes of our
our
students.
obligations to follow Massachusetts regulations, which requires us to collect this information. We also, and we could have a link to the reasons why maybe we feel like this is not, not
But still,
something we
20% of
would-
people, please respond yes, so
I
we
know.
don't fail our.
Well, I mean, if more people started opting out, it might,
Yeah. Is that like if your child, is flagged as being overweight, does that information go home to families? like obviously when my son failed his vision test, they're like, hey,
Yeah,
he can't see. But did the nurses send home a letter if
I
like
don't
your
know, 'cause
BMI
I
is high?
haven't had my kids
I don't
do
know off
it,
the top of
I
my
don't
head.
I don't either because I've never had my kids do the screening.
Yeah, Stewart was
Yeah,
11,
I've
Proctor was
seen
12, Cole was 3, Spofford was 4.7, Fuller was 5. These are opt-outs.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
probably
Was 5.
the best way to reach people is, well, maybe if we know when it's coming, we could just like post on Facebook, or it'll get around, like Topsfield School Committee discuss this at the March 5th meeting.
Please know you have the right to opt out.
By law, but we should like everyone to know that.
Yeah, so it's just state information. They're not even really protecting the health of the child. It's just
No,
they
again,
want the
it's
data.
population level
Right.
data, whereas the vision and the hearing are
Have educational
frequent,
impacts.
Mhm.
have an educational impact. We can do something about it, and it's going to impact your child potentially, right? Whereas the BMI is to send data to the state. So maybe we could say, yes, I want to send this data to the MDPH or whatever it is, the acronyms, or no, just no. Let's know first.
When's the next screenings in the fall?
We don't. Oh, I don't remember. Probably have to
BMI would
double
be
check
every
check
fall.
this again.
Yeah, I think they're in the fall.
Yeah, it's only once a year.
Okay.
If we're 1 4, 7, 10.
So this is something we should do.
Don't add it.
Remember to come back to
Yeah,
in September.
so revisit.
That would be right before, yeah, because
It's-
her email had come out to Proctor at the end of September.
Yeah, I feel like it's October they do the screenings.
Revisit BMI convo in September of 26.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's something that shouldn't go to the policy subcommittee because it doesn't sound like we can actually change the policy.
That's-
So this would just be something our committee makes a statement about or adds something to the Google Doc that says. All right. That,
There's a lot of data that the school district has to share, but it has educational and accountability purposes. This one is a general population health category, right? And again, don't agree with that.
yeah, no. But unfortunately, it's above our pay grade of $0.
But of $0. Yeah.
Right, and then goal review. We've been
Yeah.
taking on different sections of the goal document as we prep for fall of 26 when we look to update our goals. So anything you wanted to cover ed program tonight?
Yes, so my thought was we'll walk through the goals that are listed here. And then I also, we talk a lot about looking, preparing our students for the future. Really the only metric that we look at regularly and annually is the MCAS scores, which, as we've discussed in our meetings when we have these, we don't put a lot, it is a data point. It is not the data point. So once we go through these, I think it'll come up through here. I would just be interested in discussing other metrics this committee might want to look at to sort of better assess student outcomes, just as part of our responsibility of overseeing educational outcomes in the schools.
And financial stewardship.
Well, obviously. All right, so I'll start at the top. So continue to support academic and SEL supports for students. Or what do you want to do this? Do you want to read through them and we'll flag any that people have comments on? All right, bullet point one.
That's on the overall goal. But,
Oh, the top part? Oh, yeah, sorry. Go.
I think I feel uncomfortable with picking the values or the things that we really want the kids to become, like resilient, socially intelligent, empathetic, and self-aware. Like, to me, that also reads as like very not neurodiversity affirming in terms of like
Socially intelligent.
socially intelligent, empathetic, I don't know, like it just feels weird to me that we are signaling that like these are the 4 most important things. Just a thought. Not that we're gonna change it tonight, but I would think more about like the environment that we want to create for our students than specific
I'm trying
I
to
don't,
think
but I
of
wasn't here
how
when they
to-
were made, so I don't know how you guys landed on those.
Yeah, I mean, just so, good question. So that history, the last go-around of this would have been 23, and it's good to hear that
And
there are
they're-
people who are on this committee interested
Sorry.
in having this further conversation. Because in 23 at the time, there were 2 people who said, because I said, let's get a little small subcommittee of the bigger committee that, who wants to work on the goals. And 2 people raised their hand, neither of which are on the committee anymore. And of the 2, it landed on 1. And of the 1, a lot was going on at the time, and it was hard to land the plane. So the plane just sort of landed. Does that make sense? I'm trying to be very diplomatic.
I was asked to
Very
vote on it,
diplomatic.
having had, a very short period of time to even read it. And so I think I abstained. Like, I was like, why? I'm not gonna, because there was stuff that anyway.
So they came together and ended up being 1 person on the committee, kind of
Absolutely.
carrying the weight of it all. And then it was like, just kind of went on for a while.
Okay.
And so if we can, in the fall, like we do it try to do it in a working session, that's how we try to do it all 3 towns. My recommendation in the fall would be, let's stick with the 4 big categories: ed program, finance and asset management, leadership and governance, family and community, because I need to tether the 3 communities together somehow. But then within the 3 towns, Topsfield's finance and asset management might look different than Boxwood's asset management. In the little bold blurb at the top, those are different from all the towns. That doesn't say the same in Boxwood as it does for Topsfield. But it was a tooth extracting process 3 years ago. And so if we have more thoughtful dialogue, I think we'll land in a better spot.
I think a lot of this just ended up getting copy and pasted from the previous ones too.
Gotcha. So,
Yeah.
that's my thought.
Yeah.
Overall. We can go to the benchmark.
Right, because I mean, yes. So the other thing is, thank you for flagging, but we're not rewriting them tonight.
Right. I just want people to,
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
Yes, but yeah.
Yeah, I want people
I was-
to be thinking about.
No, yes.
Do you look at it like an
I
IEP?
do.
Totally, me too. And I'm like, is there anything measurable in here?
All right. So bullet point 1 now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the 3 pillars. Again, there's not any. Again, when we rewrite them, we can make them more measurable and specific, if we wish. So,
Yes, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah. Or it could be more like, we'll prioritize the student experience first in all endeavors. Like that
And just
more of
even
an
like make it
action,
small,
not smaller.
sure.
Wait, investments.
Yeah, because the classroom of the future was something that was from like
Yeah.
pre-pandemic.
That was like the Enchilada
Yeah.
era.
Now it's
Yeah.
a preschool classroom?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, we
kinda
probably
helping.
shouldn't.
Exactly. It is a
have
classroom of the
specific-
future.
Classroom of the future.
I mean, we
Yeah,
probably
financially, it's a
shouldn't
classroom
have
of the future.
specific, again, never mind, we shouldn't be talking about, not adding it right now. Specific things, but.
So are we still doing PBL in the classrooms as far as we know?
In spots, yes.
Yes. Because I know there was a commitment to it, again, when I started, because Pilata was coming off, and there'd been a big push for it.
Yep.
So it would be, I think, coming out of the pandemic, obviously, things got reoriented. But I would definitely like to see
Yep. Push.
I mean, again, we can't legislate curriculum. I mean, we could buy curriculum, but if we can find a way to reemphasize that, I think that would be, whether that's through Peggy or the LEDs, or, remember the LEDs did a lot of that
Yep.
back in the day.
They did.
Yeah, I'm curious
And the
about.
curriculum kind of took the future reading and the science of reading and
Yeah.
all that big shift also took everyone's time,
It's a
attention.
lot of oxygen, yeah.
For sure. I'm curious about the opportunity to do, to expand and continue doing the multi-grade, multi-age
Yeah,
level
we
things.
should look at that.
Because I love that, and if we're all doing the same curriculum, I don't recall whether or not there are, do you know what I mean, like, over time, we're gonna have kids who remember doing a unit on something, a year or two, whatever, before, or whatever, and then so then they can go work on something with a younger kid, like, I don't know. I don't know if there's like a topic that maybe, spans multiple grades and then,
I loved Candace, when I was in Andover, this is going back a ways, but, and it was a high school thing, but like, I've always thought, can't we do this at the elementary level? They had a class called Odyssey, right? And Odyssey was, let's say the topic was the ocean, right? And the social studies teachers would do all the history of the oceans, right? And the science teachers would do all the science of the oceans. And the math teachers would do all the how many gallons are in the ocean, right? And the art teachers would do, let's draw the ocean, right? And the PE teacher would come up with a game that somehow, you know what I mean? Like it was a subject that everybody sort
Like
of
a
attached to
theme.
that way,
It's more of
right?
like a theme for a period of time.
But in a high school level, like that's, you can really take that sort of deep dive. But to your point about, you know, should we be looking at multi-age classrooms? Should we be looking at, that's the other piece as I think back to COVID, like right before COVID, I don't know how many remember Design 39, but
I don't remember.
we had shipped
Was
a lot
that
of.
San Diego?
San Diego,
Yeah.
right. We had visited them. Boxer was the first group out. Middleton was the next group out. We were ready to send a Topsfield group. COVID hit, and that shut that down, right? And so some of the programming at Boxford that is still there today is a result of that. We do have multi-age classrooms at Boxford. That's been like a hallmark of the Boxford school. So those are things that we should be thinking about. And the other thing I would throw out there to the group, and I've had this conversation with Andrew, and again, it's not a today conversation, but I think it's a goal conversation for sure. At some point, we should have a conversation about bringing the third grade over to Proctor from Stewart. In our other two towns, we have pre-K to 2, 3 through 6, right? From a efficiency, this is an efficiency lens, an organizational lens of like trying to keep us, it's always a little bit clunky, awkward, because you've got, when we're trying to pull programs together or do things with grade levels, it's like third grade is always at the primary school in Topsfield, but it's at the upper school in the other two towns. And it would be an interesting conversation for us to have, if there's space here, what the educational value of it would be. We did it during COVID, right? We had third grade come over here during COVID, for those of you that might remember that. But, you know, that would be something I think
My
that's
kids
just sort
were
of
part
like
of
on the radar for down the road of considering, you know, should we do that? Just from how we organize our organization and how we structure our organization across all three towns. The only real wonky thing then would be pre-K is at Howe Manning and not Fuller Meadow. But we're not gonna do anything about that, because Howe Manning was built with a pre-K in it, like when they built that brand new school, but. So I throw that out there just as under that same guise of like, as we rethink
Yeah.
grade level spans or whatever.
I've just noticed that there's a lot of different private schools, for example, that do have a lot of multi-age, but partly it's the nature of smaller communities,
Yeah.
and so there's a little more, flexibility.
Can you remind me why, so there was a multi-age classroom at Stewart for a year?
I thought it was
That was during
early
COVID.
in the
Was it during, I
pandemic.
Yeah,
can't,
we
can
did a
you remind me
1-2.
why?
Yeah.
Yeah, during COVID.
Oh, it was during COVID?
Yeah, pretty sure, if I remember right,
I
I
thought
might have to check.
I thought that it was like the kids who were gonna be
I think it was-
like
was
more
it 2 and
remote or
3?
something.
Second and third?
I think so.
No, I don't think,
thought
I mean,
it
I know a
was-
lot of kids that were in it.
Okay, I
I'd
don't
have to go back
remember.
and check.
Well, I wonder, why did that not, did COVID kill it? Like, why did it?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
I don't either.
Because it wasn't, because I remember Annabelle had a good friend who was in it in second grade, so it wasn't first grade.
Mm.
It was second and third grade together.
We've had
I
it
don't
at Cole
remember.
since I've been here
I
and
don't
long before
remember.
then. Like, it's just been a hallmark of the Cole
Yeah.
school, like the multi-age.
Does
Two of
Cole,
them now.
does Cole still have the 2 classrooms?
No, yeah, I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you visited that.
I visited that one, yeah.
That was unbelievable. That was
It's the Hive at Spofford.
the Hive. No, it was the
Yeah,
Hive,
Spofford.
yeah. Is that what you said?
Cole.
You
It was
said
a Cole.
No, it
Oh,
was
it's at
Spofford.
Was this one?
Yeah, it was Spofford.
Yeah.
Thank you, though. It was called the Hive.
Boxer. I did drive.
I do remember it here, just because I knew a lot of it, again, parents of kids who ended up in the multi-age classroom. I was not received well.
I do remember, yes, backlash
It-
about
People were, it was, I don't know
Which is
why.
interesting.
Hmm.
And again, I don't know what the actual experience was, but I know that everything I heard from the community was like, what are you doing? Yeah, so if we do want to pursue it, just, I think we would want to learn
So
more about what
interesting.
happened the first time.
Because
around.
the only thing that I've heard from Boxer families, like who are involved in it, is good. But again,
Yeah.
it's
Positive,
a
yeah.
small,
It's like
you know, number and
teacher,
ingrained, and not all of
Yeah.
a sudden
Right.
switch too.
The arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of it was like social, like, well, they're not going to be with their friends, they're going to be with 30. You know, I think that was a piece of it, that they
Yeah.
would, and then they'd be in specials with this kid. It was kind of
I don't.
the
I feel
logistics
like
and the social
the
stuff.
mixing across ages is just gonna help prevent some of the like clicky stuff that
Yeah.
has happened and that my
I-
kids
yeah.
have really struggled with. You know, the same kid that makes you feel left out in second grade turns out to be the same kid and group of kids that makes you feel left out in fifth grade.
I think there was also some worry about you know, my third grader already did second grade. If they're in a class with second
Yeah.
graders, are they
Yeah.
going to be repeating second grade stuff again?
Right.
Or like, are they actually going to get a full third grade
Right.
experience? Or are they going to be redoing stuff they already did? Or, you know, I know that was a concern. So
Yeah.
just,
Whereas if we were looking at it as like, how would this be successful potentially in the long term, like maybe you can take into account those concerns a
Yes.
different way, you know, because again, like Boxford's had that running for
Yeah.
a long, long time, but doing it all of a sudden for different
Yeah, there
reasons
was-
and
there
COVID,
wasn't
yeah.
There wasn't any introduction. It was people got a letter when they released classrooms. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
what? Like nobody
Mhm.
knew it was coming, and then
Mm.
all of a sudden you found
Yeah.
out your kid was in a mixed class that you didn't know
Yes.
it. So yeah, but I obviously Carol isn't here, but I
It's a dusty file in my brain.
yeah,
I can say that much.
Like I
That
know what
is-
happened. I can't remember much, but
Mhm.
I think if we wanted to revisit it,
Yeah, I just think I keep going back to the fact that, you know, we group kids based on a grade, based on an age and a, you know, point in time. And again, it means that we have kids that have, you know,
Correct.
significantly different birthdays. We have
Yeah.
kids who have, you know, yeah, you can just have
That's
such
fair.
a wide
Totally
difference
agree. I think
in
some
abilities,
others-
strengths, whatever.
Yeah.
And so there, to me, there should be, and I think some of our, you know, regulations do reflect that as far as like, say, you know, 4-year, like age gap in certain special education things, right? But that, it's like they're allowing flexibility in that range, but in general, we
Mhm.
don't have it
that's fair.
outside of special education,
Ken
right?
Robinson talks about it as the date of manufacture. We group kids
Yes.
by the date of manufacture.
Yes,
And
because
so
it's
true.
easier.
Yes, of course.
And because I think there's also that feeling of like, well, I want my kid to be with the older ones, and I want them to be seen as like needing this. Whereas, you know, in my personal experience, having had now kids in some private schools, is that you can have a kid who is pushed in one area
Mhm.
and supported in another, and that would not have been possible in the current construct in this elementary school. And that provided just such an awesome feeling of there's support in the one area.
Mhm.
There's a common kind of core group, and then, wow, I feel really proud that I was pushed ahead. You know, now she's 2
Mhm.
years ahead in math and felt bad about it here, Proctor. You know, so it's like I liked that ability, but that's a huge shift in that.
Mhm.
Yeah, somebody else, I was reading a bunch of different school committee goals, and somebody was gonna study like homogeneous ability grouping. So you're like more, I think that's similar, right?
Yeah, we're similar.
I'd never heard that term before.
I hadn't either. But
They require, I mean, I guess you would base that on teacher feedback and reports of like where kids were.
You can do screeners.
Yeah, screeners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of figure out.
or like
strengths.
they get in the first couple weeks and they're like, oh, so like in her case, it's like, oh, I think this is going to be like a little too easy for you, but moving ahead will be a little tricky. Like, let's talk it out and maybe we can move you ahead and see how that goes for a while and provide some extra check-ins and support and see. Do you know what I mean? And then there's flexibility to move back if we need to. It's just the flexibility. Whereas like if you were at Masco, because I know
Just
multiple
gonna say that.
multiple families have told me like that their kid was ready, and so these are kids are doing like Russian math like outside of school because they are literally not allowed to walk from the middle school to the high school. Again, I don't know what's happening now, but a couple of years
That
ago,
seems like
the
such an opportunity.
specific
Like
parent
that.
was told this: we do not do that, right? The we do not do that is like,
That to me is such an opportunity.
Yeah.
and
They're
so
all right
it's
there
like,
in the
so
building.
where did that kid end up? Private school.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's like.
That's a
must.
passionate interest in us, right?
Sure.
And they're seeking outside, and then they
Sure.
wouldn't accommodate. And then I remember very soon after that, I saw someone present at a math. Sorry, I'm going off a tangent. I know, I can't help
That's
it.
interesting.
Masco School Committee, a person, and I can't remember their title, but they worked at the school. They talked about how flexible the school was for their children who were bilingual, basically, had significant education in a different language, and that the school allowed them to move ahead when they joined at the middle school. And I thought, this is interesting that we are, you know, having some flexibility in some areas and not some other areas.
Adrian and I have
That's
had a
a
conversation.
Masco School Committee conversation now. Sorry.
I know, I'm sorry.
He and
I'm
I-
sorry, I just,
He and I have had a conversation about, you know, how do we, I mean, this school is right downtown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, the DPW is having a culvert problem. Our sixth graders should be out there learning about culverts and coming up with solutions, and like, we should be doing more of that. He's all excited about that possibility, but you think like town hall is right next door, and
or like when they went to, did they go to
they did,
Milebrook?
yeah.
You know,
And so
like,
he's been
that's
trying to do more of that, like that's that sort of place-based education
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Gosh, town hall's a huge opportunity.
All of it.
Yeah.
Fire department's right down the
Yeah.
street, police department's not too far away, I mean, DPW, like I said, there's no reason why we can't take advantage of solving problems. I mean, talk about project-based learning, that's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the ultimate project-based learning,
Yeah.
so.
All right, I'm gonna swing us back. So PD, we fund it as we can. I feel like the third bullet point covers that.
Wait, I am curious in the backstory between financial literacy and entrepreneurship as the two areas for elementary school kids.
That goes back again to,
Copy paste.
Like, I think I would.
that's like,
does, like,
that's before my time on the school
to me
committee.
At the elementary school.
Do you remember,
level.
there was a big push for that. When was that? I feel like that was a movement. Like,
Yes, at the high school level, for sure.
right, and I think it trickled down
It did.
here. Yeah, I agree.
Like the
again,
baby shark, the sharks kind of thing.
Like we heard at middle.
Oh, the Shark Tank thing?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
it's like
fine,
Shark
but like,
Tank.
this, yeah, this,
for
yeah.
sure.
I don't know that has to be a whole explicitly.
Agreed. I think that,
Yeah.
I think that will probably be filtered out when we
Okay.
edit.
But this is good. This is like almost like a,
Preview.
yeah.
Hey, we implemented a evidence-based reading literacy instruction.
So.
Cross that one off.
Can I, yes, in place, like, I guess when I was thinking about, like, what do we want for our educational goals or programs, like, to me, seeing the kids that I see and testing and things like that, the most important, like, I would love for every kid to leave with a really strong foundation of, like, decoding fluency, math fact fluency, and, like, alphabet writing fluency, like, just, like, handwriting fluency,
Yep.
and, like, legible
Handwriting.
handwriting. Pencil grip is like my own personal thing, but
Did I still do the triangle?
I was gonna say, it's still the
they will not correct my sons. They will
But I
not
mean, do
correct.
they, is that still?
Yeah,
I had to try it
I have
They
many
won't-
times.
They won't require a student to use a pencil grip.
Yeah.
They will suggest, would you like to look different than everyone else in your
Hmm.
class?
We all had those. We thought they were cool.
I did too.
Anyways, because like I think we're getting, just like in terms of like, this is the educational goal, like what do we want our, I think by the time
Kids
they
to do.
steward, they could,
The actual skills.
that's like easily measurable, easily achieved, I think.
Proper letter formation. I don't know how many times that those were goals in IEPs for my kids, and
So that's my soapbox. Education. Like I know we're going for like grade level. We want everyone at grade level. We want everyone to like
Well-
much higher level stuff. But
Except I think part of,
the foundations.
right, what we could talk about also is like, are our kids ready to, when they go to Masco, like, what skills do we want them to have? And I think that all falls within that bucket, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Hard
go on to
see
wherever they go
middle
next.
schoolers, we're still like backwards.
Oh, you should see Huck's handwriting. It's
Yeah.
a freaking disaster.
Yeah.
Like, this is your signature?
Yeah.
He's like, no one writes anymore. I'm like,
yes, you do.
wait till it all comes crashing down. And you do right.
You do.
And you need, and it's not just that; it's that connection, right?
Right. It's just
Yeah.
like it's a skill.
It's
Anyway.
the connection. Okay.
So we're going to talk about the reporting in a minute.
And
We have, what?
seriously,
Oh, there was a big sigh. I was just, what? Oh, sorry. We have expanded preschool. We've done tuition-free 5-day K.
Yep.
We did support technology, although
Can we talk about technology?
we can.
I would love to.
yeah. we need to go for it. And
I mean, I'm sure. Can we have less technology? Can we support less technology? I just, thinking about the handwriting conversation. I just read something the other day that, I'm going to get every possible part of this wrong, but the difference between writing a sentence and typing a sentence is measurable in the brain.
Yes.
In a million different ways,
Yes.
in terms of retention, in terms of, the amount of your brain that it involves. Just as one, tiny example, I know we've talked about kind of the short form.
no, I think it's really important.
iPad stuff and
For
the
sure.
young, I'm like, we didn't allow it at home at all, and then they go to school and it's like ding, 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 and there's so much information about how that's not good for the kids, and I just feel like it's being leaned on more and more and more and more as we're learning that it's making students less smart.
I would say, given that concern in the researcher and media and blah blah, that maybe we would say, we're not saying that we want to get rid of it, but we're not a one-to-one device school. We're not requiring them all to have a one-to-one. Do you know what I mean? They don't.
We've never been there.
They've never done that. So
We've
that,
never
and
done
that's, like, just to be clear, like, we are not a one-to-one device
Correct.
school. Is how much time are they? You know what I mean?
That's the
Like,
note
I
I
think
just
that
wrote.
that would be
Julie Kelly
good to know
assessed-
before we,
Yeah,
it's
like
kind
how
of-
much
Get
at
a
each
straight
grade
answer
level.
as a parent.
Like,
Oh,
and I
I see.
think, so, one of the ones I was reading, like, watching or someone was like, establish a philosophy and a vision for technology use in the Topsfield public schools, and I think, like, I think it's, we need to, one of our year benchmarks need to be like studying, like somebody goes in, right? Because it's like during snack they're watching YouTube and like the kids are distracted from eating because they're watching YouTube. It's like an educational video, but like they're just in front of the screen like so much.
Yeah, I was gonna
And,
say,
like,
that's frustrating.
that's, yeah, like teaches good skills, but it's like dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And like they are just left there. So like my son is on Epic reading a book that's like far below his level, and he reads the same book every single day. So he has read about Nessie every single, and there's no, right, so like for 20 minutes a day, he's just on the computer. That, yeah, so there's no oversight, I think, in the classroom, or very little oversight once the kids are on, in the station that is the,
You could say, based on my anecdotal evidence, it appears that there is not.
right, and he's like, oh, I've already done like 1,325 minutes on this year, and I was like, this year? Like, he's like, yeah, tell me how many minutes I've done. I'm like, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, whereas, like, again, I have a dyslexic student who loves audiobooks, right? But she's also getting consistent review of foundational phonics skills to make sure she doesn't learn the things that she's building on, right? So we want to make sure that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think they're in front of.
Yeah, or that I have, a kid who's severely affected and didn't get a heavy emphasis on, like, the handwriting and doing all that early on, and unfortunately his earliest years of brain plasticity were, lips the fish and eagle eye and guessing, and now does have to rely more on technology to, like, he can use speech to text, right? And so that allows him to navigate sending messages, but sometimes it's harder to understand the messages he receives, for example.
I mean, I had to, not to get too personal, but I had to fight to have them not teach speech to text to one of my kids. When they're not learning anything there.
It's
Yeah.
a tool I want them to have, and it supplements for kids who need that for sure. So it kind of, like, it has to be in reality now. Like, we're at a place, again, for one of my kids, where it's like we have to look at the reality of
Sure.
the brain plasticity left and the time we have left and the tools to
Right.
function in this
he
world.
didn't need it. He was just getting frustrated because he didn't love
Oh,
handwriting.
got it.
So I was
yeah.
like, oh, then just talk. And I
For
was
sure,
like, oh,
for
no.
sure. I know, but more practice makes that effort.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
right. So more and
we
more and
got
more.
there,
repeating. Yeah,
his
for
OT is
sure.
wonderful.
And
but
to your snack point, like, given that our kids struggle with socialization as it is,
Yeah.
snack's the perfect time to have that social time. And if
Mhm.
you're looking at a screen, you're clearly not socializing with anyone else.
So I hadn't been aware. Is that something that you're hearing is happening
Every day. Oh, I don't.
for your particular?
For, yeah.
So again, I would just want to, like, how widespread is that before I start jumping in
Yeah,
at, like,
but I think like
yeah,
again, going in
for
and
sure.
like, somebody timing like the whole day is like however they want to do it.
Or if we, again, we'll be saying, like, what are the classroom practices around that, and if it's widespread, then we have a discussion about whether or not the principals would like to change those practices. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? I think that would be a principal purview,
Yeah.
I guess.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I think like
So-
be around why, like what it's
Yeah.
doing.
But again, yeah, I don't
or-
want to sound. On the one hand, I don't want to sound patronizing. On the other hand, like, that's very concerning to hear.
Yeah, and I think
Very.
we never want to, and you touched upon it, we never
Yeah.
want to paint with that broad
No.
brush
Right.
No.
either, you know what I mean? So that's why I think the data is important.
Yeah.
But I mean, last year in kindergarten, the stations were, right, like, small group with one teacher,
Mhm.
small group with second teacher, kids on the iPads.
Mhm.
Yeah. Those kids on the iPads are so old.
Yeah. Maybe they can do something. Anyway, okay. Not my job. Yeah. like teaching is a hard job and we should pay them because it is hard work and they put a lot of time investment in it and it's overwhelming. Anyway.
So how do we turn that in? I know we're not rewriting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I don't know,
that,
that's where I came up with like the philosophy and vision for like
Yeah.
our
Oh,
use, and
thank
then we
you.
can,
right, that sounds almost like its own
yeah.
policy or section, like technology use, I think would not necessarily fall under educational goals, or we would have
Well,
a,
it was in this one, like support and maintain the technology acquisition. And
no, I know, but so, right, I think that, but that goal, I mean, my interpretation of that from when,
Was get a line item.
exactly, was get a line item
Yeah.
for computers for
That's
maintenance.
exactly what that was.
Yes, for educational technology. That's what, that was less, we
check.
need to use technology in the classroom and more,
Then maybe it'd be more about a philosophy of supporting,
educational.
yeah, encouraging
I mean, maybe that's a
digital
P-
literacy stewardship and but making
and maybe
sure
that's
that-
PD, like maybe there's a PDs that responsible technology, I don't know. I don't know what's out there.
I don't know, it's tough when I'm like blocking YouTube on my kids' devices and they need it for, school or something,
Yeah.
for something specific.
Well,
Not
there's a
here
balance, right?
elsewhere,
Because, I mean, I'm sure
Yeah, so I
a
have to-
number of the curriculums we have
Correct.
web-based
but- Yeah, so I have to like
functions and
allow it
applications.
in the moment.
Yeah.
Or they have to watch it on somebody else's like screen or
Yeah.
something, because
I would just like all the computers to go away.
You should come to North Shore Nature Programs. We don't have computers there.
What's the other one in Boxford?
Oh, Marahawk. Don't go to, they're my competition. You're not going there.
Oh, they are. Scratch that for the record.
Do you know what I mean? But like, I don't know how to balance it either.
All right. So clearly we will have lots of rewriting to do in the fall.
Things are great.
Colin, you're taking copious notes, right? Using technology to take the notes.
There's
Are you writing it or are you writing it?
We can go back.
And the last one's just sort of like an affirmation of,
I guess in terms sorry, I have more ideas. In terms of the diversity of ideas and learning set, like, is there any interest in like a social justice? Is there a social justice curriculum or an anti-racist curriculum?
that, there was a group looking at that 2021?
I have to go check. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yes. Because Charisse had pioneered that post George Floyd, I remember. And I think that also, so that was also a tri-town-wide initiative, which may have encountered resistance at one of the other communities.
We did a lot of training with staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming out of that time frame across the 3 towns.
So there was never anything TTU-wide.
We were threading needles.
Yes. So there's an opportunity to do it district-wide, but
Yeah, and the question with any curriculum, so don't take away the heading of the curriculum, right? Anti-racist, health and wellness, like take away the adjective. Well, it will always be the where. Where does it get, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where does it get done? When does it get done? How does it get done? That will always be and that's not a resistance, that's not it's nothing more than logistics.
Mhm.
How do we figure it out,
Mhm.
right? I'm not saying it's impossible, but that has to be part of that conversation as well. It can't just be like, okay, here's the new thing we're gonna do.
Mhm.
Great.
Mhm.
You want it done well? How are we gonna do it?
Mhm.
Right, so that will have that conversation for sure.
yes, it's something we can look at, certainly.
Seems like a lot of other communities do it.
They do.
I was gonna say, how could we, like, in practice, being in other people's, like, worlds and their spaces and their, communities, that, like, that's how you get to understand them. And,
Well, and the
How you
DASH
might-
program does a good job of,
I'm sorry, what?
the DASH, Disability Awareness Starts Here, is that still around?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so that does a good thing for some things.
Yeah. But this would be like,
Like taking
we're
our
like
kids to
literally like almost like a field trip
Oh, I see
to
what you're
work
saying.
with another
Yeah, this type
school
of stuff.
community on
Gotcha.
doing something maybe. Maybe it's not again, patronizing or like where we go and we help out another school or something. Do you know what I mean? More like if we did something with another school community maybe.
I see what you're saying.
Like in a community that wasn't our community, for example. I'm sorry.
If you have like pen pals and then you
Sort of,
So
yeah,
their school
maybe,
heard it, it comes back.
maybe. I was just trying to think, because that, like, how do you get to know people is when you realize they're the same as you, right? It's like when you get those connections, and do you need to physically be there? Probably at some point you need to be in connection, right? But like maybe there's a way to establish something longer term. And then, I'm trying to remember who was Addie. She had a pen pal in, I think it was North Carolina, because it ended up being close to where we had lived once, but I can't remember which, how that connection was made. But, okay.
Onto data.
Yes, I was just gonna say, let's pivot.
Okay.
I like that idea. I also just want to be, I like all the ideas. I think there is a limit to what we can and should mandate as a school committee. And to that point,
Right.
like, as
Right.
much as I would love to organize some cross sixth grade thing in Lawrence with Proctor, like the logistics of that, I think if we say, hey, this is a great idea, we're going to do it, and then
No.
here,
yeah,
Adrian,
no,
run,
No,
right?
absolutely,
Like, so
right?
that'd be
It shouldn't
tricky.
us saying it,
Just
more
like
just
you don't
like,
bring an umbrella to a brainstorm. You just
Exactly.
let it
That's true.
all
That's true.
go,
That's true. That's true. That's
and
true.
that's true, right? It's
So right, we
more-
can emphasize it and like put together, like, and
we're
It's
just-
more like
be supportive of these things.
creating awareness and appreciation for other
Yes,
cultures
no, no,
and
absolutely,
ideas,
absolutely,
right?
yeah.
But how that is
Yeah, how-
implemented.
Right.
Well, actually, the
is-
Whitson's thing was kind of cool with the different foods, at least.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought that was amazing.
I'm gonna start coming here for lunch, by the way.
I know.
It looked really tasty.
That's cool.
All right.
But that is the
Foster
that is the way to do it. Like, is you set the direction,
Right.
Right.
and then
Yeah.
we let the professional
Yes.
teachers.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, here's what
Look at us
we
and
set
go,
the direction.
that's not going to work that way.
Here's how we get there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we come back and report. Here's what we're thinking on how to do that thing.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I'm looking to my two data people. Do you want to go first?
Okay, well, if someone asked, how do the students in Topsfield do, like, what would I say objectively? I'm not sure how to answer that other than the only publicly available data set is the MCAS scores. And I would say, given all of the difficulties with standardized testing and not testing the things we tried to teach them, but the standards we tried to get them to know, but anyway, the one consistent trend over time has always been just the disparity in certain groups versus other groups and their performances, and those have stayed steady over time for a very long time. So like the number one predictor of whether you're in a group that was likely to pass or not is whether you have a disability. In districts that aren't as financially healthy, the number one predictor has to do with their economic status, and then the number two would be disability. And that says something. I don't know what to say about anything else in there. I feel like there's just so many complicated factors about that in standardized testing. Given all the different things I've read, the only one true thing is our disabled students perform significantly poorly on that test. That's it. And so I feel like I'm at a loss to say, how do we say how our kids are doing?
Right. So I know that Ames Web happens. Like, there are other assessments that we do.
The MClass and DIBELS, yeah,
And
3
MClass
times
DIBELS.
a year. But we don't see
Right.
that aggregate
Can the
very
school
often.
committee see that data?
Sure.
Because I think that would at least give us another point of community-wide data that we could like look at and be
So
like,
she has, Peggy has presented that to us more
Yeah.
than once,
Gotcha.
and specifically pointed out changes in some of the early literacy skills
Yeah.
that we screened for as like what happened with the skills we targeted with certain programs.
oh, that's right, I do remember that.
Yeah, and so saying like, look, these numbers changed, right? And to me, that's more valuable than like an MCAS, for example, is a concrete score. However, what I haven't seen is like an opaque plan for what do we do when kids don't meet this benchmark? How is that benchmark created? How long are kids spending in there? How many of these kids are getting referred for special education? And what's the time frame in which they're in this, quote, system of RTI or MTSS before they get referred or before they return to gen ed?
I think it would be helpful to have a calendar of like biannual or triannual like dates, so they don't have to be long presentations because we're going to be so used to hearing them, but just of like, or just like the numbers have been updated to include like the winter screenings or whatever it may be, so I don't know.
If it's frequent
and
and we're
then-
used to it, we get through it quick.
Yeah, and then like again, like some organizations we have, like year over year over year over year of data that we can like easily just get a glance of and see it. You know, there's some, again, like, wasn't an education person, didn't study it, had a little bit of like, but like, there are also like pre and post assessments, right? Like from probably curriculum or other classroom things. I don't know if that level is important. I think for me,
I was gonna say, I don't know if that data probably isn't collated in the same way
Right,
that like the
exactly,
assessments are. That'd be hard to, yeah.
Like, what do we,
there's
because
hard data, there's, right.
I guess I want to know, like, are the kids learning what we're trying to teach them, right? And then if they aren't, then you have to delve into the, like, why not, right? And if they are, awesome, right? Like, how are we going to say that into reading is, quote, successful, right? How are we going to say that we have, one, like, implemented it well, or the way that we intend? What is the way we intend? Did we do it that way? And then is it having an effect? How do we measure that effect? Like, having that kind of a plan and a periodic time to look at it would be good. You know, I know, again, like, I don't think I haven't asked this, but I don't think we're doing foundations anymore. I assume our Into Reading has the,
I think they're still.
we are?
Dave,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, they have little unit assessments, many of them throughout the year, and it was one data point which suggested to me that, like, my first grader was not, you know, meeting and retaining those early literacy skills, and so that's why I asked for special education evaluation. I wasn't shared, like, a concern about it. It showed up on a piece of paper once, but it wasn't pointed out, like that is a very specific, like, we tried to teach you this skill, did you learn it in that time frame?
But yeah,
I don't know what else, you know, there is.
Right, I don't want to get into like
Yeah, like which
student
one?
level data, like, because I think if you look at like classroom student level, it gets tricky.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. I mean,
How,
yeah.
so I would want the people who collect
we
the
want
data,
Peggy in that
interpret the
conversation.
data, to say, well, how do we say how we're doing?
Yeah.
How do we say that Into Reading is, quote, successful?
Right, I think that's
How do we say that this was a good investment?
So I think the logical offshoot of this is also like RTI and
Yeah, MTSS.
MTSS, and we don't get any data on that. That's something that our literacy subcommittee was asking for in great detail, and
Many years
was a
ago.
piece we could never get.
A bar below which the kids do not fall,
And
and the
handle.
option for clinic, you know, like for teacher.
Like, there is,
Up.
I think there are districts that report on the success of progress monitoring and RTI intervention in terms of like returning kids to baseline, right? So we
Mhm.
could collect, if we're not already, like from the data teams, this is like the success of in a general
Right.
big picture sense, right?
For
Like,
sure. Because, like, I've seen in practice, since I've had all 4 of my kids involved in RTI, like how some of those methods have changed. And the emphasis that Peggy put on understanding the data they're collecting changed significantly over time, which is good. I just, again, since I don't have kids involved in that anymore right now, I don't know. Are kids also spending multiple grade levels in RTI before getting referred for special education? That seems insane to me when the, like, dyslexia guidelines, you know, specifically spell out, like, you should see progress within roughly this many instructional hours. It is well below, like, a trimester, for example. So not changing, you know, frequency, duration, intensity of instruction, grouping size, etc., you know, over a long period of time doesn't make sense to me intellectually, and I would want to know, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Time to diagnose, like, how old are kids when we're diagnosing them with disabilities? Are we reaching them before brain plasticity is, like, not as high? Yeah. But I don't know. How do we say, that, like, we're doing good, other than the
Yeah.
one measure is MCAS, and that's published everywhere, but,
Correct.
like, I would love to be able to say
Yeah,
something else.
it's a fair commentary.
I don't know how to
Yeah, I mean,
say
it'd be interesting to see what the principals
It's
say too,
hard.
right?
I
Like,
don't know
what
to say.
do they hope for their kids when they're leaving their buildings?
Correct.
And I guess the other thing, you know, since we have, not to pivot away from hard data, but because we have SELs like a pillar, like, how are we measuring our success in that?
Mhm.
Like, and that's a much harder target, I think, just because you can't assess that.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
think,
can't give hypotheticals. Would you punch this kid, or would you give him a hug?
Like there are like, how do the kids feel in the building questionnaires?
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah, and I think that relationship mapping data, I mean, I know that's, certainly more qualitative, but the idea of when we're asking kids, do you have a trusted adult, do you have people in the school that you can go to, you know what I mean? Like, and on the same token, when we have our teachers to identify, how many of us know Brendan in third grade? And everybody else put a check next to Brendan's name, like, all right, cool, we got Brendan covered, but Scott, he's only got one check next to his name. Like, we need to make sure that we're checking in well with him, so like that, those pieces I think fit under that category as well, for sure, along with, surveys, climate surveys, things like that.
What do you think about asking from the kids' perspective about their peer, like how they feel about peers, right?
Mhm.
Like, do you have, more than one, like, close friend? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how to,
Yeah, what I'd like to see is in the,
and is that something we
figure
want to
through
ask the kids directly, or be
Right.
more like we're observing and noting?
Like, what's the quality of data you're going to get
because-
from a survey from a second grader on that?
Right,
Right,
that's
yeah.
why I was like, how do you?
I love my friends. That's what it will be. Give me a minute
Except for
just to think of
Jane.
the name
I
of
don't like
the-
Jane.
Oh, Second Step. I know they've been doing the SEL, has been starting to initiate Second Step in the classroom, which is like an SEL type program. So that could be another, when we think about, like, you and I were talking about, like, the vital signs, you know what I mean? Like, that could be another sort of vital sign around SEL.
I guess the other,
I just feel like, sorry, just my neurodivergent kiddos have just, like, 3 out of 4 have not fared well socially.
that's where, like, I was going with the overall goal more being about that, like, belonging, connectedness, like, safe, valued, like those,
Yeah.
like, what kind of, because those kids can, right, it's like, how do we get,
Yeah.
I think that is more important. I think that those are precursors to a kid
Yes.
being able to be resilient and a good problem solver and socially intelligent, right? Like, they have to feel valued and connected and like they belong somewhere. Like,
Is that there's a name for like a hierarchy?
Maslow's.
Okay,
Yeah,
something like that, kind of.
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it makes me think of, like, again, anecdotally, seeing a lot of kids with ADHD, that gets noticed first, right? Like when a kid's moving
Sure.
around, not that is that hits you first, but a subtle learning disability, like, that can be harder. And then my opinion is that ADHD in particular means that some kids are getting like a delayed diagnosis for SLD, and kids and parents are made to feel that their behavior is the issue, and if the behavior was better, the learning would be better. And unfortunately, in some cases, it's because there's a learner disability, right? And it creates that cognitive, like, that insight level of like, I'm struggling and this sucks and why is this so hard for me? And like, also I have ADHD and I'm always getting told like, stop, don't do that, don't touch that, don't whatever. And then to not, be able to learn the way that you notice other people are learning, like, that's really hard. We shouldn't be diagnosing kids with SLD at Proctor. We've missed the window, in my opinion, for greatest opportunity to intervene.
So, Alyssa, going back to your point about identifying, like, a safe, what defines a safe school, safe community that sets kids up for success? How do you
measure
test, like, how do you
Do we
know
ask
that you're doing that
parents-
well?
Do we ask parents like, my kid feels a strong connection
I
to
don't
their
know.
peers,
I don't
my
know
kid
yet.
feels
I
a
think
strong
that's,
connection
like,
to
what we
my
put in the goal that we
teachers?
wanna figure out.
Yeah.
If that's what
But,
it's
right, but I
about.
was just saying, like, yeah, in terms of, like,
There's probably a way.
figuring out if we're hitting our goals, that's, I think, gonna be, like,
Yeah.
the hardest one to nail down. And then also maybe even
Yeah.
harder to identify, like, where we're falling, right? Because at least with, like, if a kid is struggling with spelling, in theory, they're like, these
I
4
wouldn't pick
things
that
that,
one.
kids struggling with
that one.
math,
There you go.
fluency, like, there's like 3 or 4 things you can target and figure out. If a kid's feeling not at home in a school, I feel like they're like 100 different things that could be going on. Maybe not 100, but like,
no,
but
totally.
there are little-
Or they present
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
totally different is, are you anxious?
Right.
Are you withdrawn?
yeah.
Are you distracted? Like, what are?
But there
do you
are,
know what I
like
mean?
on
Yeah.
the FAST, which is like the broadest, it's like the rating scale that everyone uses for social emotional, whatever, right? Like, there's like an attitude towards school subscale.
Okay,
So like there are there are scales out.
they're out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe we
Because I
can-
think that would be important. I just, we want to make sure that we figure out a good way to measure that. And,
I'm also working.
yeah.
I don't have my doctorate in education.
Well, yeah, where
Yeah.
my head goes on this would be to, that's why we have 3-year goal for time frame.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
right,
like-
right, right.
To try to do that all at once would be very overwhelming for the teacher at hand, right? But I think if you look to implement the stuff over time, and then we have this picture, right, of what a successful student looks like in all those facets, SEL and academically, and we bring in the people who we want to have those conversations with, the Peggies of the world, the Matts of the world, the principals, teachers, so on and so forth.
I'm gonna put this out there as like a very pie in the sky idea, but I think in terms of equity and like accessibility and things like that, like there are also the kids we kind of touched on earlier who are at the gifted end of the spectrum, and like that is not something that is mandated in Massachusetts. It is mandated in a lot of other states, but like, do they have equitable access to what they need to also feel like valued and like they are making progress? So
Yeah.
that is a dream that I know we cannot probably tackle, but
Kids
Well,
who
I
are
mean-
following all the rules and getting the grades
Yeah.
deserve kudos too, and they deserve to be pushed.
Yeah. We had the TAP program briefly. That was strictly academic,
yeah.
but
And I know
yeah.
they're doing it. I mean, they're doing the LEDs.
And unfortunately, kids with disability, like,
You've talked about TAP.
Did we collect data on the PBIS?
Yeah, it's a little bit different in each town. Probably
And
the
is it targeted?
What's the PBIS?
positive behavior intervention
Okay.
support. Yeah.
I think it's like the student start.
This is your hobby horse.
Is it something other than Stewart Stars, or is it?
I would have to ask
Yeah.
Karen that question. I don't know off the top of my head.
I just wondered, yeah, so
Yeah.
that data, I mean, seclusion and restraint data, like, there's a lot of data that schools collect, right? Suspensions.
But there's a lot. All of it.
Luckily,
Yeah.
yeah.
All of it.
I think Topsfield has like the highest population with zero reported, because we reported zero last year.
Yeah. I think across most of our towns.
Yes.
it's that.
Good. Yeah, it doesn't makes no sense to me. So I'm glad.
All right.
Development of gap closing strategies to improve
That's RTI and
Yeah.
TSS. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to have like a real discussion
that. Yeah.
because we don't usually have time for that.
Well, they're always going 150 miles.
I know. It's nice that
I looked at the agenda last year for March. It was the how to do an override conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
we-
a PowerPoint from legal on here's what you can say and here's what you can't say, and we were going
Every year.
1,000 miles an hour last
Yeah.
year with 3 overrides and everything else. So it is nice to be able to sit and have
to breathe.
a conversation like this.
Can I add one other?
Of course you can.
It wasn't good that I got silence on anything. Okay, so this is my idea. Annual or biannual reporting on the curriculum review team's work and their strategic plan for curriculum for the next 5 years. Like baking that into a goal, like as a big piece of data.
Just hearing feedback on where things are at.
Rather than like, we're gonna implement this, like, at least getting it.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
having them present to us twice a year.
math is next, right?
Yeah,
That's going to be the
But-
next.
and the review of how's it going.
And, that's the other thing is like we have to make sure the glue sets on into reading
Right.
before we, and now we're going to do a writing program, now we're going to do a math program. And like, we have, you think about the financial woof of that, right? And then also the implementation
The
woof
emotional
of
woof.
that, right? In terms of
Yeah.
how do you,
Peggy like really pushed back on my email about a math change. I was surprised.
well, because
Yeah.
we want to make sure that
No, I know,
the
but-
time,
yeah.
effort, energy on the into reading program, and people are running as fast as they possibly can with that program. And, when I talked to Peggy about that, she's very pleased with the level of implementation and integration of that curriculum. Like, you don't always see that. When you try to implement something new, you often get, you might get a little bit of that here and there. And people are working really hard to do that work and make sure it's implemented with fidelity. And like I said, you want to make sure that glue sets before we introduce, the next thing, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, math and writing, Sheriff talks about writing too, like that's the piece of it, because we know the into reading wasn't going to totally solve a writing issue, but I would say those are the next, flags, plans for the future, for sure.
What like, do we need to move on? I'm just like very curious, like what the TTU's like philosophy is around handwriting.
Yeah, it's not a standard, which makes it, right? It's no longer in the DESE English Language Arts standard. So I can't say to you, do we have a philosophy on it or not, but there are so many standards. This is the problem with this is now I got on my soapbox, right? If you added up the amount of time to teach all of the standards that are assigned to us, you'd need probably 270-day school year, not 180-day school year, right? So I think that becomes one of those things where it's like, all right, well, it's not a standard anymore, and we have 7,000 other ones that we need to accomplish, so off we go. Yeah.
Strap Grant to a seat at home. Give him that pencil.
Nick was an OT from kindergarten to 5th grade, and then they gave up on him, so genetic.
Genetics aren't.
They'll be fine.
He'll be a doctor, a medical doctor.
Like Philistine Thomas.
All right. So we'll come back to this when we rewrite these in the fall. It sounds like that'll be a much lengthier and more productive process than last time around. And yeah, we'll continue following up.
We have a retreat.
That's true. That's your other big
That's
soapbox.
the only reason you want me to pull papers. Have a Bretton Woods.
All right, we do. Excuse me. We do have some minutes, so.
I would also like to talk
And
about the
Bill's
recital.
All right.
Possible.
We're gonna add that to an agenda in the spring, in the May meeting.
Recital.
I would like to preview it because I don't think it was fair that we were asked to vote on it at the same meeting that it was presented. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my answer to that would be, we do that a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like we
I
ask
just
you,
thought it
we
was
ask
like a
you,
very
we ask
big
you to
item.
vote on things that are, things are in the drive 48 hours beforehand. We ask people to come prepared, read. You know what I mean? So I think that's sort of a normal, let's say, course of business, but it has to come back to the individual committees anyway. And so it'll come back to the individual committee for sure for that discussion. Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, I can tell you this right now, it's not a hill anyone's gonna die on. Like if the committees are like, we're all set, okay, we're just trying to make ourselves more efficient, right? And Matt's gonna show the data and the numbers, and if it lands on a spot that people are like, yeah, we're not down for it, we don't proceed with it.
So I know you've got a list of questions for Matt, so.
So for Emily and Brandon who weren't there on Monday night, the recitals are kind of like the TTU's
Rules of
governing-
engagement, memorandum of understanding,
Yes.
sort of. The districts.
And a change was presented in that right now, if there's a special education in one town
Like a sub-separate program.
classroom, the other town sending the kid there would have to pay a tuition for it. This change would make it all free within the tri-town. So if Topsfield is sending a kid to Oxford for something, they would not be charged. And if Middleton sends here, they would not be charged. And they said, it's all gonna come out in the wash, it'll all be about even.
They is the school administrator. I love when people use they.
Sorry.
They is us. The guy
Without
right here.
presenting any data, no 5-year look back, no forecast, it's just gonna be that even. And I felt super uncomfortable without having that, information of what are the programs, how many kids are they, what disabilities are they for, what's the prevalence of those disabilities in the population. And what Matt explained was that he has to bill the other towns, basically per hour of services that the kids are getting. So it becomes a very complicated billing process where he's billing himself as himself in Middleton and then charging Topsfield, and then he has to sign it, kind of crap, but. So my questions are generally what I just said, what are the programs, what are the population swings that have been there? My concern, which I would like everyone to think about, is that we have the new Topsfield Language Academy. I don't know if the 766 programs are included in that. No?
If we did like our NEC program, like
Yes.
that would still be, that would not
Okay.
be.
So my
That would
concern
not
may be like moot then, because like my concern was that like we have the Language Academy, which like is going to enroll a very prevalent disability category, and I'm sure they could easily fill it with like, and I didn't want to lose that revenue.
That would not be.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So that was my like main concern. But I do wish we had had some sort of like presentation around like how much has Topsfield spent on sending kids out to these other programs.
Matt did say at the meeting that he would bring that to the committees.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be to these committees, I thought he meant to the TTU.
No,
like-
there was
Yeah, it was to the- yeah.
Yeah, no, I know not.
So the May meeting will do, because we have to do public hearing for school choice and budget on April. And they'll bring that back to the May meeting, and Matt will bring, past, whatever, 5 years, here's how many kids Topsfield has sent to Middleton, here's how many kids Middleton has sent to Topsfield, but any sort of partner program, like NEC partner program,
Press.
Valley School for the Deaf, Cotting, anything that we develop would be not.
Its own set of-
Absolutely.
And you guys don't have tuitions for just the TTU programs because they're only drawing from TTU.
The ones that we've established so far?
Yeah.
Like the NEC program?
No, like the
Like-
the ones that this would apply to.
Yeah, we don't have there's not a, you mean, is there like a set rate?
Right.
Yeah, it varies. It varies.
He's doing the math.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
he has to
there's-
do the math, because it's like, you might have been here for 8 years and you're making 80K, but Brendan might have been here for 6 years and he's making 60K, and it's an hourly rate, we're billing back out on that.
And are those other programs open to students outside of the TTU?
No. No. Hold on, let me think about that. Are those programs open to kids outside of the TTU? I'd have to check with Matt on that. I don't want to say no and be wrong. So let me double check that, Alyssa.
Yeah.
My other half of that story is, I'm always thinking about, the next people in all the seats, right? And what I wouldn't want is someone who was in Matt's seat, not Matt, but the next, he or she, to look at it strictly from a financial perspective, right? And say, no, in district, it's gonna cost 80 grand to move this child from Topsfield to the Middleton program. But out, it would be 60. And I'm just gonna put them up, just from an economic lens, take out every other factor that goes into that decision. I wouldn't want some, because I've unfortunately seen places where people who just look at things from a money lens, and then it's just, oh, okay, for 60, and it might be the right thing, to send them for 60, if it is, 1,000% we should do that. But it also might be the right thing for the child to stay in district for 80, and we should do that too, right?
Yes.
And so that's what that's another part of that conversation, for sure.
And we can talk more about this when Matt's here, but I guess like my question is like why, if we can just say Language Academy is 40 grand a year, why can't we say these programs are a reasonable rate?
Yeah.
per year?
Yeah, Matt would be better to answer that question. Yeah. Yeah, but we will bring the data, for sure. And again, it's not, if the committee is like, nope, okay, cool. We're just trying to figure out a way to make us more efficient. And that really came out of the efficiency study. I mean, that was one of the things that it was like, you should really think about in-district programming being free for kids as we move them around the Chi-Town. And that's really, was sort of born out of
Yeah, I
that.
think if the 766 programs aren't gonna be part of it.
Yeah, they
then,
wouldn't.
Like,
I don't think we could.
changes the calculus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. That make sense to everybody? Yeah. So we'll bring it back.
All right, now we have minutes in the drive from February 9th. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then you have a list of bills and payroll in front of you, so I'll make a motion to accept the bills and payroll as listed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Superintendent snow threat is on fire.
Yeah, Gloucester canceled.
They already canceled?
Oh.
They did, they just did.
Wait, who did?
Gloucester.
Because it might rain. Like, there's a chance it does just all rain.
Well, the Gloucester just canceled, this is in text. Gloucester just canceled because the city declared a parking ban until 10, and we use the school parking lots. See, Lynn does the same thing. If they declare a parking ban, you have to throw your car. If you
And they
don't
put it in a lot, yeah.
if you don't have a driveway, you have to throw it in.
Should we adjourn first? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.